Welcome Aaron, welcome Natalie to our procurement insights on sustainable procurement within the supply chain.
Great to be here.
Thanks for having us.
First of all, if I could ask you, what does sustainable procurement mean to yourselves?
For us, sustainable procurement is about the balancing of the environmental, social and economic considerations within our supply chain. We want to make sure that the things that we procure are responsibly sourced and that our procurement decisions have a positive environmental and social impact where possible.
We tend to look at three strands, socio-economic, environmental and ethical. I'd say the ethical is probably the most challenging because you're looking right up the supply chain. We do a lot of work also with socio-economic aspects like SMEs, breaking down barriers, trying to get long-term unemployed into work, paying the living wage, etc. And for environmental aspects, everything from the circular economy to hazardous materials.
What can we do to encourage SMEs and organisations to look into making their supply chains sustainably sourced?
SMEs actually make up the biggest proportion of suppliers in our supply chain, and so if we're going to have any chance of delivering sustainable outcomes for our customers, then we absolutely need to bring them with us. I think there's two sides to it. One side obviously supporting them to improve their capability and ability to deliver, and the other side is the power of procurement. If we and our clients are very specific about the things that we want people to do in the contracts, then people tend to form an orderly queue.
I think with SMEs, we try and make sure that we're not stifling competition and that we are always including SMEs as much as possible. At the same time, we really need to be rigorous in what we ask for in terms of sustainability. So what we tend to do is give quite strict requirements, but give a list of options. So for example, with the air quality agenda, it's massive in the city at the moment. So we will require them to take action, substantive action, but we give a list of options of what that can be. So if you're an SME and you can't necessarily afford to trial a new electric vehicle or you haven't got the resources, then you can maybe do some green driver training or change your pattern of logistics, but you have to do something. So that's what we try and do.
And how can SMEs get more immersed into sustainable procurement?
In our sector, we have the Supply Chain Sustainability School, which is a collaboration of 70 main contractor and client organisations who've come together to develop a sustainability programme specifically to support the supply chain to build their capability. It's free, it's got a range of free resources, workshops, events and other things that you can kind of take advantage of. And if you are a kind of a lone environmental manager within an SME organisation, you can join a much larger support network. The other thing I suppose to mention is last year there was the launch of the new international standard for sustainable procurement, ISO 2400, which is a helpful guidance framework for companies of all size in all sectors. It was really helpful for us in identifying where are the gaps in our approach and what do we need to do next to move ourselves forward. So those would be my two thoughts.
We established an organisation called the London Responsible Procurement Network. It's not funded by anyone. We get together on an informal basis and people that are in our roles in responsible procurement share ideas. We're not competing against one another. We're public sector organisations, but we learn an awful lot from what's gone wrong and what goes right. So yeah, collaboration is really important.
There's nothing to be gained by competing on some of these issues around modern slavery or equality, diversity, inclusion, those sorts of things that are industry-wide issues.
How important is the stakeholder involvement and investment into this as well with the organisations?
For us, I mean, senior buy-in to sustainability in general was key, and responsible business. I think that you need senior management team to recognise the importance of actually having a dedicated member of staff looking at responsible procurement. Then you can get a strategy in place, look at all the different priority areas. We look across the piece at what it is the organisation is trying to achieve and then basically try and translate those requirements down through our supply chain.
For me, it's really about kind of helping everybody in the business to understand how the sustainable procurement agenda can actually support them to deliver on their own. And so even if it's as basic as, we want to save money, well, that's what sustainable procurement is all about. Fundamental to the whole idea of sustainable procurement is this idea of balancing the social, the economic, and the environmental. If those things aren't balanced, then you are not delivering responsibly. Even the most hardest-nosed private sector finance people can kind of get behind an initiative which is going to save carbon, which ultimately saves money, and is going to save waste, which is obviously going to save money as well. We don't talk about waste in our business, we talk in terms of circular economy and resource efficiency, because if you label something waste, there's a tendency to believe there's no value associated with that, and increasingly there is. And so by not talking about waste, we're encouraging people to look for the value in those things which we previously have thrown away, given away, or paid for somebody to take away, actually again can provide a benefit back.
Overall, I think that's a very fascinating insight into sustainable procurement. So from my side, thank you very much for your time, both to Aaron and Natalie.